You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
I remember standing right across from me when a smelly vagrant lost his mind. I remember an old man pooping next to me on the LA Metro.
KFI AM 640 is Later with Mo Kelly. We're live on YouTube, Instagram, and the iHeartRadio app. And if you are watching on YouTube, make sure that you like and subscribe. If you're not on YouTube, get on YouTube or Instagram, like and subscribe so you don't miss any of the shows. You can always go back and find them and also review them if you might have missed them. It's very cool. It's very simple and it's very free. Let's talk about LA Metro. And I know you're listening right now, LA Metro, because you're always listening. It always gets back to me about how angry you are because I don't give you any credit. I don't talk about all the cool things that you're doing. I don't talk about all the positive things you're doing. This is just to shut y'all up.
You don't talk about all the people who haven't been stabbed.
Correct. I focus on the negative. I focus on the one person who was shanked in the neck as opposed to the thousands who weren't. So to that end, I'm going to be fair. I'm going to balance it out. And I'll talk about a community event which is coming up that LA Metro is sponsoring, and hopefully no one will get shanked. Okay, let me not say that. But it's still a possibility. LA Metro has invited you and me to ride along with them on a bike to celebrate their new bike corridor. They're calling it a community ride. And they're inviting the public to a beginner-friendly community bike ride through South LA this weekend to explore the newly opened rail-to-rail active transportation corridor. I don't know what that is. I'm just reading it. It's a free event, thank goodness. And it starts and ends at the Compton and Slauson station, offers a relaxed 3-mile round-trip route suitable for riders of all experience levels, according to the organizers. The group will ride from the station to South LA, Wetlands Park, and return via Augustus F. Hawkins Nature Park with a scheduled snack stop at Granny's Kitchen Southern-style soul food along the way. The event celebrates the completion of the Segment A of the $143 million rail-to-rail active transportation corridor, which opened last month. The new bike and pedestrian path links the Metro K line at Fairview Heights Station to the Metro A line Slauson Station, creating what they say is a safe, car-free route connecting parks, schools, transit hubs, and neighborhoods across South LA. Again, they said it creates a safe, car-free route. I didn't say that. I'm just reading it. I'm just trying to be fair and not always negative about all things Metro.
Focus on the snack stop. They've got a snack stop.
That's right. Don't focus on the safe. Focus on the snack. Because you might be disappointed with the safe, but you won't be disappointed with the snack. Organizers say this weekend's ride is an inclusive, active way to, quote, meet new friends, explore the newly added stations, and have fun on two wheels, close quote. There are some other recommendations. They say that riders should bring a water bottle, a tap card, or cash for Metro fare. Why would you need Metro fare if it's a bike ride? If you're just touring this,
you just want to be prepared for any eventuality. Also, bring Kevlar.
Get tired after the snack time. Got to just take the bus.
Oh yeah, you might need a nap after the snack stop.
I get it. Metro Bike Share will provide free bikes to riders 16 and older who request one in advance when registering. Have you seen those Metro Bike Shares? Those bikes?
Yeah.
Nobody's going to steal those.
No.
What's wrong with them?
They look like something out of 1957, barely able to hold up someone who's 170 pounds.
You mean like a Pee Wee Herman kind of bike?
Yeah, I wouldn't trust it.
And that's almost an insult. His is nicer.
Okay. All right. Well, no, I wouldn't insult Pee Wee's bike.
Look, I get it. If you didn't have a bike and you wanted to be able to just ride a bike to work, and we have a picture of them right now on our YouTube channel if you want to see these Metro bikes. They're not sexy. They're not all that attractive, but hopefully they're functional.
Yeah, it gets you from A to B. So
I assume I've never ridden one, but I'm saying, why do they have this thing like covering the wheel? Go back to that, Daniel, where you can see the bike again. Please.
I always wondered about that.
Why are you covering? It's like it makes it look so antiquated and uncool.
Yeah.
Well, it's so you can't
It's like
just
a
steal
fender.
it and pass it off as your own. You're riding around with a big yellow M, and you can't claim that you just got that at the store. It's a Metro bike.
Look, I get it. You don't want it to make it more attractive to steal, but you don't have to make it so ugly that I don't want to use it. I don't want to be seen on that. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm supposed to keep it positive.
Yeah. Snacks. Go back to snacks.
Okay. Yeah. Riders should bring a water bottle, tap card, and cash for Metro fare and a functional bike, if not borrowing one. Who's going to bring a non-functioning bike? Why do you have to put that in there? Bring a functional bike. No, I
Because-
was going to bring my broken bike and ride it across the city.
We are in the age where you've got to tell people
Dumbasses.
everything, including don't eat the wrapper on a Subway sandwich.
That's true. That's true.
Actually, and that's similar to when you watch those car commercials and you see someone, driving in the beach in the sand.
Right. Professional driver,
Professional
closed course.
Do not attempt.
Yeah. Helmets will also be available at no cost. Children must be accompanied by an adult. Training wheels are not permitted.
It's almost as if you don't appreciate all this.
Look, you can't have it your way all the time. If I'm going to show up, you can't tell me I can't bring training wheels, okay?
I
You
bet you'd be really excited to put a helmet somebody else has worn on your head.
It's probably as clean as the Metro.
Also, who are the training wheels hurting?
I have no idea. You're asking for children. There is a distinct possibility that they may not be able to ride without the assistance of training wheels. I don't get it.
Circus workers would be offended.
They're saying you have to sign a waiver, so what difference does it make? If I'm signing a waiver, then you have to take me as I am, training wheels and all. No, I'm being serious, Carnation. That wasn't a joke. You have to take me as I am. Okay. There's your good news and positive spin on Metro. Guys are happy now? Happy? But let me just say this before we go to break. If somebody gets stabbed on this Metro ride, it is open season on Metro once again. If you have a community ride and someone gets shot, stabbed, impaled, run over, what if we were on the Metro community ride and a train hit you? That would be unfortunate.
You're jinxing it, man.
I would never do that. KFI AM 640. We're live on YouTube, Instagram, and the iHeartRadio app.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
Later with Mo Kelly on KFI AM 640.
Live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app, YouTube, and Instagram. Generation Z, generally defined as those born between 1997 and 2012. Some other sources say born between 1996 and 2010. My sons and my nephew all would qualify as Gen Z. And it scares the bejesus out of me to acknowledge that they are all old enough to drink, first and foremost, because if you do the math, that makes me much older. And it scares me to think that that generation is now the generation which is having the most fun. There are published reports, including KTLA, which I'm going to play for you, which will allege that Gen Z is smarter with their money than our generation. I'm Gen X. Mark is Gen X. Tuwala is Gen X.
Millennial.
You're millennial. Okay. Carnisha, you are millennial, correct? What year were you born?
Born in 1994.
So that's millennial.
So she's right at the cusp.
Yeah, right at the end of millennial. Okay. Gen Z, I don't think is particularly mature when it comes to money. This is the generation that doesn't drive, doesn't want to buy a house or property. They just want to just live in the moment. That's the way I perceive them. Could be wrong, but I doubt it. But this is what KTLA had to say about Gen Z and their management of money, but they use how they go out bar hopping as evidence of their frugality. Listen to this.
All right, let's talk about the drinking habits of young people apparently refusing to put their drinks on a bar tab. What's that all about?
And there's a through line to what I'm talking about here, because the question now is, are Gen Z bar hoppers better money managers than all those folks in Congress who don't seem to be? And the answer to that apparently is yes.
No, those dots don't connect.
Yes, according to reports that are out there today, Gen Z bar hoppers do not like to run up a tab.
Let's start right right there. Just because you don't want to run up a tab, that doesn't mean that you're somehow fiscally responsible. That just means you're cheap and you're paying as you go, and you're just paying drink by drink by drink. It doesn't mean that your finances are in order at home.
And if you buy, because I'm sure to Mark's experience, if you're tipping, you're actually going to spend more per drink.
If you're tipping.
Great point.
They just don't want it. Now, Gen Z, obviously, people in their 20s, when they go out drinking, rather than running a tab, which is what bartenders would prefer that they do, because you've got open-ended spending in that case.
Mark, you're the former bartender. What say you?
We don't like cheapskates. I mean, theoretically, you shouldn't be tipping any less whether you're running a tab or paying by the drink.
In theory.
Yeah,
no, what Gen Z does is pays as they go. And that's a very smart way to do things.
Is it? I don't know. I don't know if it look, if you're going to buy 3 drinks, you're going to buy 4 drinks. If I leave my tab open, which I've done many, many times, I'm going to pay for the number of drinks that I asked for. Now, whether I pay one by one or I pay for the 3 or 4 at the end of the night, it doesn't make any difference. Now, unless you're making the argument that, well, if you're drinking and you're not actively thinking about paying, then you may drink more than what you originally planned to pay. But that doesn't mean that I'm monitoring my finances any better than anyone else, I don't think.
Yeah, this is kind of sus.
But why? Why is this generation different from others? Well, there's a simple answer to that, or a complicated answer, however you want to look at it. On the one hand, this is a generation that has grown up online, making online transactions that tend to be one-off deals. You pay for something, you get something. That's how apps work. And so many of them have been trained to view financial transactions the same way. Moreover, they view going out drinking like going to Starbucks. You don't run a tab at Starbucks when you run up lattes. No, you pay for each drink as you go along. And then on top of everything else, there's the financial uncertainty out there that comes with economic conditions that might be going against the wind at the moment. And so many in Gen Z seem to be prudently saying, okay, I don't want to be running up debt. I don't want to be getting it over my head.
I completely reject that assumption.
No, sir. One does not run up a tab at Starbucks.
That was the worst comparison. You're not buying, you can't buy 7 drinks at one time.
You don't have the option. So it's not like they're making a conscientious choice.
I love a reporter not being able to tell the difference between getting coffee and going out for drinks. So they're hiring the best and the brightest these days.
And young people are going to go out regardless of the quote unquote economic environment around them. I can't tell you how many times I didn't have $1 in my pocket per se, but I still went out and hung out at the clubs. Yeah. Hopefully, like if you're in early enough, you might get a free drink before 9 or something for dudes.
Or if you get
like
those cards.
Yeah, the free drink card or something like that.
The one thing I can think of is that maybe people are a little bit more hesitant to hand over their credit card to a complete stranger, even if it's somebody behind a bar. Because, there are instances where you get erroneous charges on it.
I would agree with that. Go ahead, Stephanie.
I was just going to ask Mark what he prefers, if someone ran like a longer tab or if it was, because I imagine it's a hassle having to get the card, run it, come back.
Yeah.
So what did you prefer?
First of all, it's been quite a while now, but I didn't care. As long as somebody wasn't a dirty cheapskate. You will never get over the rage of watching somebody stand there with their hand held out waiting for like a quarter in change, okay? So as long as people aren't horrible misers, and they just, when you're going out, a tip is part of the going out experience. It's not really negotiable.
And I don't know if this generation is the bar hopping generation like my generation, Generation X was. I don't know. We were the bars and lounges, and we actually interacted with people. We weren't on our phones because that wasn't a thing back then. I don't know if Gen Z socializes in the same way.
Well, and they're all on their phone wherever they go anyway.
Yeah.
I agree with that because it's more like you meet at a spot and then you just go to someone's place and then you're on your phone the rest of the night.
Right. You're not trying to be in a bar for 4 or 5 hours like we were.
Yeah, exactly.
They're not closing down the place like we were.
I'll pay for each drink as it comes. And now we come full circle to what we were just talking about before. This makes Gen Z a better manager of money.
No. No, that's not true.
than many in Congress, because Gen Z seems to be well aware, if not acutely focused on, but at least aware of the financial pitfalls of running up debt and deficits.
Okay, that's a non sequitur, as they say. Just because you are frugal with your money in the bar does not mean that you are then a good manager of money or that you have a better understanding of money than those in Congress. Those in Congress know good and well they're spending the government's money, quote unquote, other people's money. And if you gave Gen Z the opportunity to spend other people's money, they would make the same decisions as everyone else. If you give me Mark Ronner's credit card, I'm going to approach that very differently than using my credit card.
I bet you would.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying I think that's true. It's human nature of anyone else. Like, for example, when I'm offering to pay for dinner, you guys probably approach that a little bit differently if you are paying for it.
No, that's not true. And there's I think it's a Yiddish term called a schnorrer. I try not to be one of those.
You may not be, but damn it, I get these bills. I ask Twala, how much do I have to owe? $150. I
No,
say,
like
golly!
when I know you're paying, I don't ever go for like the more expensive thing on the menu because I think that's just rude.
You are the exception, not the rule. Let me just put it that way.
Now, Foosh, on the other hand, it's like surf and turf every time.
I'm not calling any names, but there are some people who get rather extravagant.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, they're getting like these extensive plates with 3 options. You got the main course and 2 sides and a dessert. And
something for tomorrow too.
Yeah, and when I say I'm going to buy you guys food, and Twala knows I'm telling the truth on that, I'm talking about like pizza, for everyone. Not like everyone get their own dish.
That sounds great. When's it arriving?
Friday?
No, you know the rules. You guys have to order it and not pay for it.
All right.
But I reject the idea that just because you're paying drink by drink, that you are somehow more mindful and better at managing money than those who open a tab.
Maybe it's just another commitment issue that these people have.
Maybe, but I refuse to believe that Gen Z is better than Gen X at anything. Anything.
Oh, no, they don't know how to do anything at all.
They don't even want to come to work in office 5 days a week. How committed can they be to anything?
Yeah, they're socially maladapted. They don't have fully formed brains. That soft spot, the fontanelle on top of their head, has not hardened yet.
And the pandemic did nothing for them. Absolutely nothing.
That probably
made bad
hurt
matters
them
worse.
Even more.
Too bad there's no one Gen Z to defend themselves here. Oh well.
We just gang up on them, and they'd cry because that's what they do.
That's right. They're just soft. They're just soft everywhere. They're gushy. They're like Charmin soft.
Yeah, to quote Animal House, they're worthless and weak.
It's Later with Mo Kelly. KFI AM 640 live everywhere in the iHeartRadio app, YouTube, and Instagram. Make sure that you join the Momigos in Motown. Get on the chat. We'll read out your comments or we'll respond to your comments. It's interactive like nowhere else.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
KFI Later with Mo Kelly. We're live everywhere in the iHeartRadio app, Instagram, and also YouTube. And if you're in YouTube with the Momigos in Motown, you may notice that Nick Poliokini, who's going to be joining us on the show at the top of the hour, he is interacting with listeners right now. So if you would like to say hello to Nick Poliokini, ask him questions about his life, his background, his upbringing, whatever he's going to be talking tonight, just hit him in specifically the YouTube chat at Mr. Mo Kelly. Coming up in about a month or so is Comic-Con. And Twala, you and I used to go to Comic-Con each year. And for those who've never been, they may not know what Hall H is. Hall H is that place where the biggest presentations are presented. You have people sleeping out on the sidewalk, sometimes days in advance, funky asses who don't shower, smell really bad because they want to see what the big presentation is. And usually the big studios, like a Warner Brothers or a Universal or a Disney / Marvel, they'll have a Hall H presentation. It's a big deal to get into Hall H. And even though you have tickets to Comic-Con, there's no guarantee you'll get into Hall H, even if you're camped out.
That is true. That is true. And they are filthy all to be damned out there. We have actually seen them when last time we were broadcasting. We saw them coming up, camping, setting up their chairs, setting up little fires because they were going to be there all night. They were not going to leave until they got the opportunity to get into the heralded Hall H. Jeez Louise, the nerd funk was real.
Hall H, usually is synonymous with Marvel. If Marvel has a big movie coming out, Hall H is where you'll see them talk about the movie. You'll probably meet the cast from the movie. It's where last year they announced Avengers Doomsday, and they had the Robert Downey Jr. revelation.
They introduced Fantastic Four. I mean, it was on and on and on. It was a who's who in Marvel's Hall H because, and this is important, because it was believed that Marvel wasn't going to come out for Hall H. They were not saying that they were going to announce anything. They had no plans. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, oh yeah, we're going to be there.
Here's the thing, though. You have Fantastic Four, which is supposed to come out July 25th, which is after Comic-Con. And if you usually go to Comic-Con before a major movie drops, they'll usually show you footage from the movie. Yeah. There was all the reason to expect that Marvel was going to have a big-ass presentation at Comic-Con this year. Just announced, Marvel is not.
Not at all.
Not at all.
That's so surprising. I mean, because I actually got passes to go to Comic-Con. And I've been mulling over just the horror that is the travel, that is the hotel finding, all that, just to spend an hour in line walking around from one end to another. I'm sorry, not an hour. 2.5 hours or longer.
Yeah, there you go.
In line, walking around. I said to myself, am I up for it? And then I was like, no, I don't think so. But maybe just to go out there, just to be in the area, because you don't have to actually go to Comic-Con to enjoy Comic-Con, just all of the activities outside the area, just something to do, just because I haven't been anywhere in a minute. But for Marvel to say that they are not doing anything, that's kind of shocking, especially because, and Nick, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't believe that Disney is doing a major D23 presentation this year where they would be shuffling all the Marvel stuff too.
So they actually will be doing Destination D23 in Florida, which is going to be...
Is that September?
Correct. So you will have that, but it's not the D23 that we're used to out here.
Yeah, so
the event we have here is equal to Comic-Con, but all Disney products. So either Lucasfilm Limited or Marvel Entertainment or anything from Disney Animation, all of that live action. But yeah, you're right. It's because you used to have Hall D23, which this most recent one was they actually took over Honda Center, right? Yeah, where the Ducks play.
Yes.
They took over the entirety of that and turned that into Hall D23, which it used to be a comparable version of Hall H from Comic-Con, and it used to be at the Anaheim Convention Center. But last year when we did it, it was insane, and the production value was through the roof. But yeah, so the smaller event that will be happening again in September is called Destination D23 or Destination D23, and that is in the off years when they don't have the major event here in Anaheim.
That's the first bit of bad news for Marvel/Disney lovers. Here's the second one. Did you see as of yet the Disneyland brawl? No, not Disneyland Anaheim, but Disneyland Shanghai, China. There was a brawl. I wouldn't say, well, it was a fight. It was a fight between 2 or 3 couples. One was a mother who was holding a child, I guess, trying to defend her husband who was getting his ass beat. And from what I read, and this goes back to road rage and everything, the smallest thing can set someone off. This was about someone cutting in line. If you've been to Disneyland, be it in Shanghai or be it, we have the fight going right now on YouTube, be it in Anaheim, line cutting is a thing. And it can get out of hand very quickly. And I'll defer to Nick Poliokini as far as how people usually deal with line cutting. I know that I would not accept it.
Well, see, and this is the challenge, because specifically what you're watching at Mr. Mo Kelly on YouTube is a challenge that this park within the Walt Disney Company has had from the beginning. And that is a cultural difference as opposed to here. I mean, I've grown up in Southern California my entire life. So Disneyland has one way of dealing with line jumpers or line cutters. And you may get that ever illustrious, as Shannon Farron here on KFI talks about, going to Disney jail. And I know you have a bit of experience.
Why are you trying to bring up old stuff?
I'm just saying. But we have a Disney jail situation, or, you know, what's even more so is I think back to Knott's Berry Farm, who is part of the Cedar Fair family of theme parks nationwide, and they implemented that chaperone program that keeps going and coming back and going and coming back depending on what's happening. So that's surprisingly granted, a lot of the fights that were happening weren't just teenagers. That was kind of like these roving droves of gangs that were considered. But I mean, if you've ever been to Knott's Berry Farm, if that's something that you've visited any time in your life, you'll see people that roll through there in very specific clothing, be they goth, be they, you know, motorcycle gangs, whatever. Like, everybody goes with their own fandom, if you will, and bring it in. But specifically culturally, again, with this video that's happening overseas, and this has happened in other parks, again, it's based more so on the cultural side of things, what happens there locally, because here, for the most part, we have a community that follows lines, kind of. But culturally elsewhere, especially like the easiest example, if you go to see a Disneyland character in Anaheim, you get in a nice line and everything's well planned out. If you go to Tokyo, you will then pretty much be this huge group of people surrounding the character. And then the character just kind of picks and chooses who they want to interact with. And they get to everybody eventually. But it's just one of those scenarios where you're kind of wild in that regard.
And one last piece of bad news for Disney. Thunderbolts is going to lose some $100 million for Disney, even though it was the best reviewed Marvel movie since Spider-Man No Way Home. Not a good week for Disney. But we have some dying time to pick you up when we come back.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, dying times here.
KFI, Mo Kelly, YouTube, Instagram, iHeartRadio app. We have 2 candidates for Darwin Awards. Both tried to claim their awards in Southern Africa. First, we're going to tell you about Bernard Kebbel. He's no longer with us. A lion ate his ass. Well, let me back up. Bernard Kebbel, he was at a luxury lodge in a remote northwest portion of Namibia, Southern Africa. And I guess he was with other tourists at this tented resort. But Bernard, I guess against better judgment, decided to leave his tent, and it's more than a tent, it's more like a structure, to go to the restroom. There was no indoor plumbing. But you're on like a safari. So there are probably animals around and know that there's a food source at this resort. Bernard took a step out of his tent, and a lioness immediately attacked him and ate him. Other campers managed to scare off the lioness, but Kebbel was already dead by then. Too bad, so sad. I've never had any desire to go on safari. Never, not in my life, not to be close to any wild predators. And if the lioness knows anything, it's where the food source is. And I'm quite sure people have come and gone from that luxury resort every single day, and the lioness realizes food right over there. And there's the opening. And the food comes in and out of that opening.
I don't know why this man got his ass on his shoulders and decided to go out late at night by himself, no doubt.
By himself.
On safari. And I promise you this, you are warned of the type of animals that are in the area. So I don't know what made him think, it's okay, I'll be all right. And tried to get his behind on the commode and was just snatched.
Should have done it in a bottle or something. It would have been safer.
Yeah, don't they advise you on safaris just to bring an empty Gatorade bottle?
I think they do. I'm being serious.
Something similar, yeah.
Yeah, because if only there are times you're not supposed to leave the resort or the tent or the structure because
at night. Yes, at night. You don't go out where there are wild animals that do what out there? They're hunting. They're not aware that you're on tour.
Exactly. When the lions see you, it's like an old Warner Brothers cartoon where there's a thought bubble above their head and they see a steaming steak.
It's food. Yeah. And it's walking towards me. Yeah. I don't have to even chase it down. We're not even going to leave the continent. We're going to go to South Africa, just a little bit over from Namibia. A 47-year-old photographer and film director was tragically killed. I don't know about tragic. He was killed, though, by a giraffe while filming at a safari lodge in South Africa. It almost sounds like it's the same damn lodge. But this guy, his name is Carlos Carvalho. He was trying to film and photograph a giraffe, and the giraffe had a name, still does, Gerald the giraffe. Got too close to Gerald the giraffe, and Gerald unexpectedly swung its neck, sending Carlos Carvalho flying through the air and crashing to the ground. Just by way of headbutt. One headbutt killed Carlos. It's too bad, or really it isn't. Carlos had been shooting scenes at the Glen Afrique farm in a place that I can't pronounce location known for its appearances in the British TV series Wild at Heart. Richard Brooker, whose family owns the lodge, stated that Gerald the bull giraffe would not be euthanized as he was not deemed dangerous.
How could he be? He was just stretching his neck.
It's about damn time.
It's a giraffe stretching its neck like, ooh, woo.
The giraffe did nothing wrong, got into the personal space, and the giraffe just turned its head. It wasn't like he kicked the man. Now, if the giraffe had kicked the man, I might have had a little bit more sympathy. Not likely, but it was possible.
Yeah, I'd still be on the giraffe's side. You don't punish the giraffe for the guy getting up in its face.
When Carlos was standing in front of the giraffe, the animal spread its legs, bent its neck, and swung its head at Carlos. Gerald will remain at the lodge. He did nothing wrong. Amen.
Yeah. This is good animal news. On both counts.
Yeah.
Both counts. The lion was fed, and a giraffe will stay free.
Now all we
Everybody
need
wins.
is some trophy hunters getting their just desserts.
Yeah,
That would
that's
be
true.
great.
That's true. But you can't have it all. Can't have it all. We got 2 in one day. 2.
Not bad.
Fingers crossed.
Or finger licking. Either or.
Ew.
It's Later with Mo Kelly. KFI AM 640 live everywhere in the iHeartRadio app.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.